Happy Monday, and welcome to Audacity Presents. We are in week 3 of January. Can you believe that? This is the beginning of week 3. Week 3 is very important to me because we have been doing the Daniel diet and fasting at our church. It kicked off on January 1st. And we fast and we do the Daniel diet for 21 days. This is the last week. Amen. So for those of you that may not be familiar, let me talk about it for a minute. So we do a fast at the beginning of every year. A lot of churches do, a lot of people do. For us, the fasting portion is at 7 p.m. You stop eating and you do not eat anything. You only drink water from 7 p.m. until 1 o'clock the following day. Now at 1 o'clock is when you start the Daniel diet. That is where you are eating only fruits and vegetables, no sugar, no flour, no dairy. It is a very strict diet. And so for me, I am a big sugar lover. I'm just going to tell you. And so bringing my body into submission and into control my sugar intake, no added sugars in anything that I've been eating the past couple of weeks. And so I have discovered some new things. Like, first of all, you can get, your organic sugar items like date sugar, your natural sugars from fruits. I love freshly squeezed apples and different fruits that have their own natural sugar. And so that has helped me a lot in my craving for sugar. I have also given up caffeine these past 2 weeks. I typically like to drink a cup of coffee or tea, and I have given that up. I have talked to friends that, they are coffee drinkers, and when they stop, they get a headache. I have been very thankful that that has not happened to me, but I do like to have one cup of coffee or tea in the morning, and I have given that up these past 2 weeks. So the way our church works is, as we begin to end the fast and the diet, we have an all-night prayer service, and that's coming up on Friday starting at 10 p.m. And we have an all-night prayer service until 6 a.m. Saturday morning. So we have an all-night prayer service that starts at 10 p.m., ends at 6 a.m. And we do prayers, we do testimonies, we have worship singing all night long. I think we have maybe one intermission, a break in there in between, but it is all night. And it goes fairly quickly. I've done it for the past 2 years. So this week, third week of January, I will be ending my fast and diet somewhat, because I usually, after the church completes it on the 21st, sometimes I go a couple of weeks after that, continuing on with the fast and the diet. But we'll see. We shall see. So continue to be in prayer. If you're interested in doing that, it is definitely something to seek the Lord about, and to train your body to be in submission and obedience, and know that it is a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice being made. Other good news. I am so excited that my new anniversary book, I got a copy of it this weekend. For those of you on YouTube, you can see it, and hopefully we'll have a picture of it posted on social media where you'll be able to get a link to purchase the book. But it is called Eternal Children's Collective Books. I got a sample in the mail this weekend, and my thing for the children's books that I have written thus far is it is very important that we teach our children things that are long lasting. And that is biblical teaching, biblical truth. And so in this anniversary edition, all 4 of my books have been compiled into one hard copy book, of which I am excited. And there is a bonus book in the middle that I have written. It is not available as a single book. It is in the anniversary book, and it's called I Wish. And the other thing that is really neat about this anniversary book is that it comes with the author's note. So there is our notes. There is a page before each book that talks about what I was thinking, what the process was in writing the book. So I'm very excited to share a few of my notes and my thought process in writing the books. The other thing is the book comes with QR codes. For those of you on YouTube, you can see this. The book comes with QR codes. So if you scan the QR code, it will take you to a video of me actually reading the book. So I'm so excited that this anniversary edition of my children's books have been put together in one place, and you get a bonus book that is not available anywhere else. So I'm excited about that. I'm very excited about that. So it is available on Amazon. The other thing, I thought I was finished. The other thing is, for those of you that are on YouTube, you can see the cover of the book. It's a really cute pink brown type book. I liked this cover, but I wasn't sure what it was going to look like once it was published. And so I've also updated the cover, and so it's an all black cover. So I may put both out there on social media, and you guys can, I may put both out there on social media, and you guys can tell me which cover you like. I'm kind of liking this cover though, but I'm waiting for the other cover to come in for the book. So I have been, what I want to do next, because I really want to get into the podcast, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my Mary moment and my replay. That's just how badly I want to get into the actual podcast. I'm going to put these things at the beginning. So my replay for this week is by Ryan Ellis, and y'all know that I love Ryan Ellis, and this may have been on my replay before. I do not know, but it does not matter. That's why it's called a replay. And it's called Lean on the Lord. It says, I remember when I was just a kid, didn't worry about a thing. The world was simple then, but it's different now. A lot to figure out. At some point, I've got to learn to lay my questions down. Lean on the Lord. Love this song by Ryan Ellis. And then, this is my Mary moment. It's like I'm doing things backwards here, but you'll follow me. My Mary moment this week: Jesus is always willing. The question to ask is, will he? Let me read that again. Jesus is always willing. The question to ask is, will he? Now, I know y'all are thinking, Mary, what do you mean by that? Okay, y'all, that's my Mary moment. So let's get into the actual podcast. I have been reading the book of Mark, and I really shouldn't say the book of Mark. I have just been reading the first chapter of Mark over and over and over and over. And when I tell you that every time I read that chapter, God gives me something different. He highlights something different in the scriptures. It has just been unbelievable. And so I'm in Mark chapter 1. This is the very beginning of the ministry of Christ. We find the prophet Isaiah, what he talked about regarding John the Baptist and making way for the Lord. Mark 1 talks about John the Baptist being out in the wilderness, dressed in camel hair, eating locusts and wild honey. It talks about the city, the country of Judah, and the people from Jerusalem coming out to the wilderness to be baptized. And then it goes into Jesus coming out in the wilderness to be baptized by John the Baptist. And once Christ is baptized, he begins his ministry by going out into the synagogues and calling his disciples. And what I have been focused on this past week is the leper that came to Jesus. Picking up in Mark chapter 1, verse 40, it says, a man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And Jesus, moved with compassion, put forth his hand and touched him and said unto him, I will, be thou clean. And immediately the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. The audacity of willing. That's powerful. The man, when he said that, he knew that Jesus could. The question to Christ was, if you are willing. It's like, I know you can, but are you willing? Imagine standing before the one who has all power and wondering if he would use just a little bit of that power on him. And he says, Jesus, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And what's interesting is we have to understand, when I went back and really started digging into the scriptures around leprosy, and you find a lot of the instructions and the treatment and what was going on with people who had leprosy in the book of Leviticus. But what it says is that the people that had leprosy had to isolate themselves. They were possibly contagious and they were considered unclean. They had to leave their families. Most of them they were homeless, probably lived in caves out in the wilderness. But the most humiliating part of being a leper is that when you were out among the people, if you just happened to be out, you had to yell, unclean, unclean, to warn the people that you were unclean. How humiliating. How humiliating is this? And so here we have this man that comes before Jesus, falls down on his knees and says, if you are willing, you can make me clean. How bold of this man who had been isolated away from society, had heard about Jesus and made his way and fell down before him. Scripture didn't even say that he yelled, unclean, unclean, before he fell before Jesus. We don't know that, but he fell on his knees before Jesus and said, if you are willing. In his mind, he was probably thinking, I know he can. Oh, the news has traveled near and far about this man healing and casting out demons. So there was no doubt in his mind that Jesus couldn't heal him. The question was he willing to? What boldness that was. It reminds me of the woman with the issue of blood who made her way, who said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. The boldness. And when she did, Jesus knew immediately that someone had touched him. This leper made his way and said, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And this made me think about our own lives. Is that we know that Jesus can, but we fall short because we're not willing to acknowledge our uncleanliness. Yet we want Jesus to heal us anyway, but we're not willing to admit or acknowledge our uncleanliness. We shout out that Jesus is a healer, that he can heal us. But yet we don't want to unpack our uncleanliness. I just thought, with this leper, what did he have to lose? He was already a leper, an outcast. He had nothing to lose. So on this particular day, he said, I'm going to make my way to Jesus. I'm going to tell him that I am unclean. But if he is willing, he can make me clean. All of us are walking around with some type of uncleanliness. Something that we don't want to admit. Something that we don't want to acknowledge. And I'm here to tell you that God is always willing. But will he? God can heal anything. But I feel like it falls on us to acknowledge our uncleanliness before him and know that he can, but is he willing? The audacity of willing. That's why I said in my Mary moment, Jesus is always willing. The question to ask is, will he? Y'all have a good week. I'll see you next week.